Welcome back to my garden. I'm going to give you a little garden tour. Here is my yellow pear tomato, and the top of that pole there, that stake, is 8 feet. And back in August, I cut my yellow pear tomato down to right about here. And you can see it grew right back, and actually it grew even bushier. This thing is like a weed. I can't keep up with it. But here are some new flowers, so I will have more yellow pear tomatoes very soon. Right next to it is my black-seeded Simpson lettuce, and it's bolting. You can see that it's getting pretty tall. It's starting to bolt. So I'm going to have to pull these guys out and make a really big salad. In this area here, I have direct sown some red fire lettuce. And right next door here, I have sown some pak choy. Right here you'll see my black crim clone doing very well. It also has flowers growing. And right next to that is my cucumber plant. And I just harvested a whole bunch today. I left a few on. So, you know, it's still going strong. I'm going to leave it until it just completely poops out. If we move over, here's the other black crim clone, and it is also flowering. Next to that is a baby purple bell, and then this area here, I direct seeded American, I believe it's called American flag leek. And here is my zucchini squash. That is coming along nicely. I have a few baby zucchinis growing on it. And lastly in this bed is my other miniature purple bell. And both of the bells are flowering again. They haven't produced very much for me this year, so I'm hoping I will get like a late harvest. And if we turn around, I'm going to show you the tomatoes from my tomato experiment. And they're growing nice and big, and they are also flowering. You see there. So I'm pretty excited, and I'm hoping to get tomatoes before frost. Most of these are determinate, so I should have a lot of tomatoes to can for the winter. Oh, and here in this pot is one more tomato plant. It is called Legend. Moving along, here is my purple royal, it's called Royal Burgundy bush beans. And my daughter and I harvested some today. But the beans are this beautiful purple color. And I think they turn green though once they're cooked. But if I can show my son purple, he'll eat it. And right next to it are some Cubanelle peppers. And those peppers are huge. So this is my second pepper harvest from this plant. I pulled out all my onions, and I replanted some Italian red of Florence onions here, and some she-co long white onions, which are they're bunching onions, and they're a little bit tangier than the regular white bunching onions. Now here's where I used to have a honeydew melon. And my melon vines are pretty much all finished. They've all died out, except for this one. This is where the original vine was, and I cut it back. And then it just grew these little shoots and they're looking really nice and green. So I'm going to leave it, especially since I'm getting some late honeydews. So I'm going to leave it. I'm just going to see what happens. Why not? Got more flowers going on, so I'm just going to leave it here and hope to get 1 or 2 more melons before frost. Most of my blueberries have finished, except for this one here. It's giving me a little late harvest of blueberries, and I will take it. I will take whatever I can get. Here is my jalapeno plant, and move my blueberry aside. You'll see my jalapeno plant. It's infested with aphids at the moment, so I need to do something to help remove those, but I do have a few jalapenos coming back and turning red, so that's nice. If I move over, you'll see this was my black cherry tomato, and it's pretty much done. So I'm going to let the last of the cherry tomatoes ripen up, and I will pull this out. Next to it, this is my little pot of tomatoes. I made the compost that these tomatoes are sitting in. This is my homemade compost. And in it, of course, I had thrown some tomatoes to compost down. And guess what happened? They sprouted. And I'm just going to leave it. Why not? I have no certain way of growing. So I'm just going to leave it and see what happens. Here was a Crenshaw melon pot, and I've taken out all the vines except this last one. And if we go up, you will see the last melon that's growing. So I will wait until that is done fruiting, and I will pull this last vine out. I don't know if you remember my little sad looking Home Depot raspberry plant. I mean, it was just like down to here, and the leaves were all brown. Look at it now. It's starting to grow into my rose pot and just bush out. So it's looking great. I'm hoping to have a nice harvest of raspberries next year, especially since, I'm sorry, these aren't raspberries, they're blackberries. And I'm hoping to have a nice harvest of blackberries, especially since I bought a second plant, which I need to repot. And so I'm hoping I will have enough to make some blackberry jam next year. Here's my herb bed, and it's really overgrown. I need to just kind of clean some of these chives out. But here's the chives, the sage, my basil. I cut it back, and actually I cut all the stems because it had a little disease, and I cut it back, and I meant to just pull these all out later. Next thing I knew, they just started to grow back, so I'm just going to leave it. And here's my English thyme, and then this big ol' honkin' thing is my rosemary. Next to it is my mint, and I don't know how it does it because I'm sure it's incredibly root bound by now. It's been in here for a few years, but it's just starting to trail out of the bottom. This was a melon, Crenshaw melon pot, and I've cleaned it out. The vines are done. Here, these are snow peas. And this used to be where this is. That was also a melon, but I moved it over. It gets more sun in this little spot. So I decided to trellis it up, and hopefully we'll be getting snow peas in the near future. My garlic bed, remember this? Well, my garlic is starting to sprout. And I've got one more right here. I'm hoping the rest will come up very soon. Oh, look. Didn't see him earlier today. And And, but if not, I have some more cloves I can just put in here and make sure I get a good garlic harvest. My daughter's fairy garden and our apple tree. And I'll move this way. We got 2 new fruit trees. They were $7.50 each at Lowe's. I believe this one is an apricot and that one's a guava. Got also some mums and ornamental peppers, and I haven't gotten to repotting those, so that's next on my list. And finally, if we come around to my fall bed, you'll see it's just exploding with green. Here's my spinach, and next to it is my assortment of cabbages. The ones in the back really got decimated by cabbage caterpillars, so they're just starting to grow back. Some carrots, broccoli. These are green sprouting broccoli, and I had to hold them up with this because these were starts in my grow room / laundry room. They're not as stable as I would say if I just sowed them into the ground. So these are holding it up. Here is cauliflower, and this is the purple cauliflower, and I can tell because if I look in here, you'll see these beautiful purple leaves. And when the cauliflower blooms, when the head blooms, it'll be a beautiful purple color cauliflower. And next to it is the cheddar cauliflower, and these will actually be orange heads. And in between each one of these and right down the middle are radishes. So I have those growing in between everything else. And you can't see it, but there's carrots in between here. And this one, I can't remember if it's a kabocha squash or my spaghetti squash. This is the first year growing both of those. And it's also a vining squash, but it's got a really thick stem that's vining out. And, it's in bloom. It's flowering. And it's just a super, super healthy squash plant. And if you go back here, this little guy right here is a bush baby watermelon, and it's getting crowded out by this squash. So I'm going to just cut back a few leaves to allow the sunlight to come in because it comes in at this angle. So I'll cut back a few leaves just to allow more sunlight. And then if you see back there in the back, it's the other squash, and it's trailing down this way. And again, I can't remember if it's kabocha or spaghetti. Oh, look, my little friend in there. He's pollinating my squash. And then in between all that, if you look up this way, more snow peas. And here are my lemon and lime trees. This is a dwarf Eureka lemon and a dwarf Bear's lime. And you'll see that they don't have a lot of leaves on it. I've had a lot of leaf miner damage, and I've just been pulling the leaves off. As I've seen damage, I've been trying to get it under control as they are in everything. However, I do have a couple of limes growing, so I'm very excited about that. And finally, here is my dwarf peach, and it's adjusted very well to its new home. So by next year, I hope to have a lot of fruits to harvest as well. Well, that's it for my garden update. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day.